Fry with the Fry Law Firm for today's first podcast, Legal Eagle Time with Randy. We're excited about this as we've been asked a lot of questions over the past several months, but especially this time during the coronavirus situation, and we thought this was a good time to try to address some of your questions. We've been asked over 40 questions since last week alone, so we thought we would pick some that were most pressing and what most people were curious about. One of the things that we kept seeing over and over is people asking, how much is my case really worth? You see TV commercials saying, call us and we'll tell you what your case is worth. And many times when somebody's first in a wreck and they see an attorney, one of their first questions is, just give me a ballpark range. What is my case really worth? Well, I wanted to address that. As I thought about that, I don't like telling folks this, but it's the truth. We really don't know what your case is really worth as soon as you've had a car wreck. That is what most good firms will tell you because it takes more than just a simple phone call to figure out what the value of a case is worth. There's several things that we look at to determine that. First of all, we want to look at liability. Whose fault was the accident? If you're sitting in a red light and somebody hits you from behind, that's very clear. And that's clear liability is what we say in the legal terms. As opposed to if you fall in a shopping center or a grocery store and you slip and fall, we've got to determine if we can actually hold the place of business responsible. And there are a lot of legalities that we need to go through. So we believe, of course, that you fell, but we have to make sure that we can prove that the business establishment was legally liable for the fall. Another thing that we look at when we're looking at car wrecks is property damage. Most everyone knows that just because there's very small property damage does not mean that someone is not severely hurt. However, perception is a lot. And we always look at cases as if, what if we took it to trial and we're in front of a jury? We have found many times that when we have small property damage, sometimes juries take a dim view of that. But we have many ways to get around that. And again, I know firsthand that just because there's simply a scratch on a bumper doesn't mean that there's not severe damage to the body end there, which would be your injuries. But again, that's something that we have to consider. Another issue is medical treatment. If you think about it, if you've had 1 month of medical treatment versus 2 years of medical treatment, there's going to be a big change in that value. We simply don't know that when you first have the wreck because we don't know what's wrong with you and what your treatment's going to entail. So that's another reason that we can't tell you with certainty what your case is really worth before you've even had your medical treatment. Another item we look at are medical bills. If you have $1,000 of medical bills versus $1 million of medical bills, that's going to be a big difference. And again, we don't know early on what your medical bills will be. Another very important factor is, are your injuries permanent? Or are you going to have lifelong injuries? If you do, your case is going to be valued much higher than if you've made a full recovery. Again, that's something that we don't know and simply won't know until you've had your treatment completed, and then we can evaluate everything. Another factor that most people don't think about too often but is important is if we have to file your case in a court of law, what county would we file your case in? Well, the law in Georgia, with certain exceptions, are generally where the defendant or the at-fault party lived at the time. And data shows clearly that if we have a case in Fulton County or DeKalb County, those are usually a little more plaintiff-friendly or more prone to offer more money for pain and suffering on verdicts than if we have a case in Hall County or Henry County. That's just the dynamics of the jury makeup. And again, that does play a factor for cases that we do have to litigate. Again, these are all reasons why it's really disingenuous for us to tell you right off the bat, what is your case really worth? What you can expect of the Fry Law Firm is integrity, and we will do the very best we can for you because remember, the better we do for you, the better we do for ourselves. Thanks for listening to this first podcast. We look forward to our next podcast, which will be in 2 weeks from now. I'll try to address a lot more questions that we've received. And as you think of questions, you can simply put it below or send it versus private messenger, and we'll be happy to address those questions. Again, be safe, use common sense during this time, stay at home the best you can, wear masks when you're out in public, and we'll see you again for the next Legal Time with Randy. And again, this is Randy Fry with the Fry Law Firm.